treats, and eats, the Mini Clinic. I'm Howie Morgasen. On this episode of the Mini Clinic, we are dedicated to charcuterie. What's that? That's an odd word. So charcuterie is a French word, and another term you may have heard is a grazing table. So essentially what it is part gourmet, part mad scientist, and essentially the freedom to sort of set things up the way you want. A traditional charcuterie has meats and cheeses and maybe a little fruit and some dips and some jams. And so what we're going to do today is put a traditional charcuterie together so you can see what it takes to do it, talk a little bit about the ingredients and any preparation you have to do. So why don't we get started? So for a charcuterie, there are boards, charcuterie boards like this one, but it's not necessary to do it. You could do it on basic wood cutting boards. So this charcuterie I got for Christmas last year as a present. So you can see it's got a main section over here. It's got two drawers that go out, and those drawers have little plates in them and little knives and stuff. And there's a cutting board over here that you can put other stuff on. So as we put this together, we'll use the different parts of the board. But as I said, if you just have a wood cutting board and then you want to put other pieces from stuff you have around the house, that's perfectly fine to do that. So usually when you attack a charcuterie board, you do it in sections. So you do the cheese first, then you do the meats, then you would do the crackers, and then other incidentals that you want to include with it. So that's how we're going to attack it today. So let's start with the cheese. And I have several different cheeses. What it makes sense is that you have a soft cheese, a hard cheese, and then a medium softness type of cheese. So I have two chunks of cheese. I have a Gouda over here, which is a real crowd favorite, and I'm going to put that over here on the board. And then I have some Parmesan. So Parmesan is a hard cheese, and there are several ways you can do it. You can put the chunk down like this, or you can crumble it into pieces. It really depends what you want to do. So those are the first two cheeses that we're going to start with. The rest of the cheeses I cut up into cubes to make them easier to get to. So I have a nice Asiago cheese here, and this is a mild cheese, and it's a real crowd favorite. So I'm going to start out, make sure you're working with clean hands, like I always am with these types of things. So we're going to start out by putting some of the Asiago cheese, over here, okay, and there. So next we have a provolone, and provolone is a hard cheese, and it's aged, so it's got a good taste to it, or they call it a funk to it. So we're going to put some of the provolone over here, like that, okay. And then we have Gruyere, and Gruyere is like a medium softness cheese. It's very mild, so we're going to take some Gruyere and we're going to put it over in this section over here. So, and really, the way you put it in is fine. It doesn't have to be standing at attention or anything. And then we have this other cheese here, and this is mozzarella cheese, and these are basically mini mozzarella balls. And so typically I'm going to leave it in a bowl like this because it's easy to get to and we don't want to cause a mess. So I'll just position that over here. Okay. Now there are other cheeses that you can put in here as well, but these are the cheeses that I chose to use. But experiment. You could put a nice cheddar in here. There's a soft cheese that you can put in as well. Just sort of figure out what you want to do. So that's the cheese section of it. So now let's move over and put some of the meats on the platter. Okay, so we finished with the cheese, and you can see that it's out there. I did move the mozzarella over here to give us some more room on the main part of the board. So let's talk about meats for the charcuterie. So there's a lot of different things you can do. As I was doing research for this episode, I found some tips and tricks, and one of them was to make this thing called a meat flour. And you can see that there, and that is actually salami. And I'm gonna put that like in the center of my board right there. It's very simple to make. You essentially take a cup and then you start layering slices of salami around the cup and you overlap. And then when you have 3 or 4 layers, you just pull it up out of the cup and you have a meat flour. So it's pretty simple to use. There are all different types of deli meats that you can use in a charcuterie. So I've picked a couple. Sort of the king of the different cold cuts that you can use is prosciutto. And this is prosciutto di Parma, so this is the good stuff. You don't have to use the good stuff. There's less expensive versions of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the prosciutto and sort of layer it in here. As I said before, it doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be so people can see it and people can get to it. So you take some prosciutto and you put it out on the board. We'll grab a little bit more. So while I'm doing this, the other thing I wanted to sort of share with you is there are lots of different types of charcuterie boards that you can make. So this is a traditional charcuterie board, and there are vegetarian charcuterie boards, and there are also dessert charcuterie boards. You can do them for special occasions like birthdays or holidays like New Year's or Christmas. So sort of experiment and go crazy. So here are the other deli meats that I have. So the salami, that's the same salami I use for the meat flour. I have supersada, and I have chorizo, and I have pepperoni. So basically what I'm going to do is sort of grab these and sort of put them around the flour that's there. And the thing is that you want to spread them out so that people can sort of grab them, you know, and try the different ones. And then when we get, you know, the cheese, they can grab a piece of cheese and, you know, some of these meats and stuff. Here's the supersada. So let's get into a little bit of that. Let's sort of move this over here. And we'll put some of the supersada down over here. So I'm going to continue working on the meat section of the board. When we come back, we'll talk about crackers and bread. So stay with us. All right, so we have put the meat out and it looks yummy. We put the cheese out and that looks great. And now we're on to crackers and bread. Crackers and bread is really important. There is a whole bunch of different things you can put on in this area, and there might be local favorites for breads that you have, so feel free to experiment. So I have here some water crackers, and these are sort of popular, you know, for entertaining. So we're gonna have some of those in here to work with. Let's grab a bunch more. Okay, so we have those. And then we also have some breadsticks. So we'll grab some breadsticks, whoops, and we'll put them over here. And then I made some croutons this morning. I took a baguette and I brushed it with olive oil and garlic and a little pepper and some basil, you know, and I made some croutons, which are really excellent. So we're gonna put some of those on as well. And as I said, you can put all kinds of different, you know, breads on this to get it set up. So that is the bread part of it. When we come back, we'll talk about dressing it up with some fruit and what's in the little white bowls. So stay with us. So look at what we've put together here. Look at this charcuterie board that we put together. We've got our cheeses and we've got our meats, we've got our crackers, and we've got bread. The other thing that charcuterie boards have on them is usually fruit. So I have a fruit platter. This particular platter came with the charcuterie board. So I have different kinds of grapes on here. You can put strawberries on, you can put pieces of melon on it, whatever fruit that you like or that you think the crowd's gonna like. So I'm gonna place this over here. And then I have some grapes left over, some small bunches. So I'm essentially just gonna dress up my board here, you know, to add a little color, you know, to it. And put this over here. Drop this here, maybe put this over here. So now we have all the fruit. Now, in addition, you see these white ramekins around over here. These are additional things that add to the experience of the charcuterie board. So we have small pickles, we have olives, we have artichoke hearts, we have strawberry jam, we have fig jam, and we have artichoke dip. So all which people can work either with the breadsticks or the crackers or whatever they want to combine them to get a really good experience. So I hope you enjoyed our journey through the charcuterie board and that you will try. Go to your deli counter. Most of the meats that I use today you can get from your regular deli counter. If you have a specialty supermarket like a Whole Foods, or by me they have Uncle Giuseppe's, that you can find all kinds of cool stuff to put on your charcuterie board and experiment. It's a lot of fun and it's very impressive when you put it out for family or for company. So I want to thank you for joining me on this mini clinic episode of Sweets, Treats, and Eats. To check us out on social media, it's at Sweets, Treats, ETB. And if you want to see back issues on YouTube, check out our YouTube channel, where you can see all the back episodes of Sweets, Treats, and Eats. So I will see you next time on Sweets, Treats, and Eats. Thank you.